The pattern for the back section is started with a center line on the paper. This is where the paper will be folded when the pattern is cut, so I only have to draw half the pattern. This is the easiest method of making the pattern symmetrical that I know of. Then the height measurement is marked. The width is marked using the shoulder measurement divided in half. For example, the outermost sides of the shoulder straps on this pattern are 11 inches apart, so the measurement from the center to one side is 5.5 inches. Since the human body is not shaped like a box, curvatures such as the shoulders need to be taken into account. An angle at the shoulder is made by marking 3/4 of an inch from the top down the outer line. The shoulder straps I will be using are 2 inches wide. I place the 0 mark of the ruler on the 3/4 inch mark and line the 2 inch on the ruler with the top edge of the paper and draw a line. The neck curve is made by measuring down the center line, in this case 2¼ inches, and making a curve between that point and the angle line on the top of the paper. The curve will vary depending on your measurements, so it's up to what you prefer. The lower sides also need a small angle. I make a mark 1 inch from the outside edge towards the center and draw a line from there to the top outside shoulder line. Then place a mark 2.5 inches from the bottom along this line. A 1¼ inch mark is placed toward the center line from the bottom angle, and another 1¼ inch mark on the center line from the bottom. A curve is drawn between those marks. I also draw a shallow curve between the top shoulder angle and the 2.5 inch mark on the lower angle line. Here I am adding some holes for ventilation. The important thing to note is that we need to put on 3 horizontal straps later. So there needs to be a minimum of 1.5 inch sections at the top curve, bottom curve, center, and side curves between these holes. After you are satisfied, the pattern can be cut by folding along the center line and cutting along the lines to end up with a symmetrical pattern. You can make the style any way you like as long as it fits your measurements and these key points stay at these dimensions. The thigh carriers can be made any style you like as long as you follow some rules. We need to make the base panels for the load carry system. These panels give shape and structure. Fusible interface does not work well, so I make a laminate that works well for the job. First, cut some pieces of EVA foam sheet to a size the patterns will fit, leaving a little extra room around the edges. Then do the same with the fabric you are using. Remember, you need fabric on both sides of the EVA foam. Bad things will happen if you don't cover both sides. That's a warning from experience. Now take a good glue and start spreading it on one side of the EVA foam. A small cheap paintbrush helps. You can use whatever adhesive you like as long as it's washable and flexible when dry. I generally stay away from rubber cements and contact adhesives, which work very well but have strong odors and shorter working times. I like using these if you're wondering. They don't dry too fast, which is helpful. Once you have a good even coat of glue, carefully place the fabric and gently work out any air bubbles from the center toward the edges. On the other side, I like to make a rough outline of the pattern so that I don't waste so much glue. I didn't do this on the first side to avoid pattern misalignment. Position the fabric and work out the air. It's the same process with the thigh pieces. Just remember, these have to be mirror images. When you mark one, you need to flip the pattern over, turning like a page in a book. Some glues may form bubbles in the fabric while drying. So, for the first few hours, I check on the pieces and work out any bubbles that have formed between the fabric and the foam. My Swiss Army knife is a good tool for this, but any smooth rounded edge will do. I just don't recommend anything made of glass. Sometimes you really have to put on some pressure, and the last thing you want is to be applying pressure to glass if it shatters. Then I like to lay the pieces flat overnight under a little pressure to ensure a good bond is made between all the layers. Transfer the pattern to the laminate with a washable fabric pencil. Remember to mirror those thigh pieces. And cut. You might want to save some of those cut-off scraps for the next step. Now that the panels are cut, we need to finish the edges. I do this by sewing a very small, closely spaced zigzag stitch around the entire edge. Use a scrap piece to test and adjust the stitch. Once you are satisfied, sew the perimeters of each piece.